All right, here she is, fresh off adding another 3 championship titles to her trophy case. That sounds familiar. That's something I did too. Sports Illustrated and Extra Points Network fantasy expert. You can catch her on the Waiver Wired podcast and the Money Grab feed. She's our PPO of PPR. Jen Piacenti is here. What's happening, Jen?
Hey, it was an awesome fantasy football season, and some people even still have championships to come. So I shouldn't say it's over yet. So, there's still some things in the balance. These people that have to play week 18 championships, my heart goes out to them.
What is that about? That doesn't take much. What kind of person has week 18 is it a junkie? Is it a football junkie? Because you're not doing you leave it up to chance more than normal, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's people that are inexperienced or people that just love pain. Maybe they're Jets fans and they're used to this kind of discomfort. That's all I can figure. But some people, they have the 2-week playoff. They think that evens it out. Maybe in COVID it does. Maybe the 2-week playoff is a good idea on that level. But you got enough to navigate with COVID this year. So hopefully next year you all will end your seasons in week 17. I do understand the total points leagues going all the way through week 18. I understand that to an extent, but for the most part, these things need to wrap up in week 17.
I just can't imagine Joe Burrow has taken my team to a fantastic year. And it's all right, now he's not playing week 18 and whoever else knows, I don't know. It's
no Devontae Adams. I mean, who wants that?
Yeah. I imagine Najee Harris is getting a lot of thank you messages today after that late touchdown run.
I imagine he's also getting a lot of death threats.
Yes. Death threats too. What was the worst? Because you go on Twitter after a game, like the last game, which should be the last game of fantasy, that the Monday after week 17, and you just see horrific box score after box score of fantasy games lost by 0.3 because the other guy had Harris and I had Chubb. I'm not saying I had Chubb, but what was the best or worst story you heard from last night?
I mean, there was one, this is terrible. This happened to Bill Enright at Sports Illustrated. I was really rooting for him. All he needed was, he was 9 points behind and the guy had Nick Chubb and he had Deontay Johnson. He lost by exactly 1 point. So there was that hope the whole game because Deontay Johnson was accumulating points and Nick Chubb was doing nothing. Quizzically, that made 0 sense. I feel like there was something fishy going on there, but it came all the way down to it. And literally exactly, it was like 128.9 to 129.9. And that was his championship. And he ended up unfortunately going home empty handed this year for championships. But this year, I just want to say to anybody out there, if you made it to the semis, you did your job because there is so much variance and there is extra variance this year. And you could have been eliminated. Like I was eliminated, ended up in 3rd place in a couple leagues because I couldn't play in the same week. Brandon Cooks, Travis Kelce, and Mike Williams. I mean, that's how I got there. So just pat yourself on the back if you got to the semi.
All right. If that's what you want to tell yourself, that's fine. That gets you through the day. I like winning
I
leagues.
still got a trophy, so I'm allowed to say that.
You got lucky, Sal. That's all.
I might have got lucky. It's a lot of luck. I brought this up yesterday, and to congratulate someone on a fantasy season is kind of silly. It really is. It doesn't. It's not worth it. I'm not diminishing what you do, Jen. Oh, God forbid. But the Parlay Kid brought this up.
You're trying to lose my job?
No.
You want to have to go back to like singing and restaurants and bars?
I would like to see more singing out of you.
That's not bad.
Harry would like a singer in every restaurant he attends. But no, the parlay, talk about death threats. Stefanski, I think a lot of people who needed Chubb to get, I don't know, at 9-10 points are probably bummed out. But Parlay Kid points out he doesn't get a lot of carries, Chubb, right? The Chubb Hunt combination was the best for Chubb, and now that's not there. It's very strange to watch that. But did you notice that throughout the season as an elite back, Nick Chubb doesn't get a ton of carries?
He doesn't. It's really interesting. What he's really good at is his yards per carry. So he's really productive whenever he does have the football, but he doesn't actually get the volume, which is why he's a little bit hard to project when you're trying to decide where do I take Nick Chubb, because the volume isn't really there. And what's odd is they kept giving the ball to Ernest Johnson, who is not Kareem Hunt. He's fine, but he's not Kareem Hunt. So I don't know what the point of that was, but that's another story. I'm sure you've all hashed that out already.
Bizarre for sure. Babyface Joel Solomon, our producer, he started Big Ben in his consolation game. Should he get kicked out of the league, or should the league just disband altogether for allowing anyone who had Big Ben to make it to the consolation game?
I think it's the league itself.
Yeah, I do too. Babyface, why? There had to be 10 better options than Big Ben yesterday for you. I don't know, Jen. I don't know. I don't know what we do with it. Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's the way. You didn't say that. Jamar Chase, Jen, is he the fantasy game performance best? I mean, I guess Kamara last year versus Minnesota, but for God's sakes, 11 catches, 266 yards, and now favored to win offensive rookie of the year when it was Mac Jones's for the last 6 weeks. Is he number one in your book right now? Yeah,
it was. So I think Chase is probably the right pick here. Mac Jones is fine. He's been efficient. I mean, Mac Jones also did his part. I mean, they put up a 50 burger on Sunday, so it's not like he laid down, but
he tried.
Jamar Chase is just so impressive. As you said, the 266 yards. And for those of you that had bonuses in your fantasy league, that is a lot of what made the difference. I know one person told me that his opponent had Joe Burrow and he had Jamar Chase, and he actually edged him out because of the bonuses in their league. So whenever leagues have that, it makes that extra level of complication. I'm pretty sure the person that had Joe Burrow is probably not happy about it.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at here. Who gets your fantasy MVP this year? I think Josh Allen probably led for quarterback points in most leagues as I look back. Cooper Kupp, Jonathan Taylor. Who are you picking between them?
I'm picking Cooper Kupp simply because of the value you got. You could have gotten Cooper Kupp in the 4th or 5th round.
Right. That's right. And his father, who would get him for free every year, now everybody else in the league said, no more. We're going to have to do this straight. I want to see, let's do a quick snake draft for next year. Oh, you do it. Who's one? Do you go Henry or Taylor? I imagine those are the first two. Yeah.
I'll go Taylor. Because of health issues, and then I'll go Henry right after that.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
And then at what point do you start with a receiver? Are they like the first 5 running backs, or would you take Cooper Kupp 3rd or 4th?
I think you could take Devontae Adams or Cooper Kupp arguably 3rd or 4th if you really wanted to. And that depends on how you like to build your team. So a lot of people after this year, they're like, I'm done with running backs. I'm just going to pick up Cordero Patterson and Rashad Penny. I'm going to win my league. I don't need to do this because they all got injured. Like none of them were reliable this year, except Jonathan Taylor, who even Taylor took him a little while to get going. So it felt frustrating, but for people that took like Saquon Barkley in the 1st round, I mean, wasn't me.
That was Harry's favorite team at the time. I've lost track because he's picked 4 favorite teams this year. Yeah, listen, we talk about it all the time. We're going to go over it next Tuesday, our futures bets. But if you bet 32, the starting 32 running backs, and some of them are shit, like we don't, who was San Francisco starting. So, but whatever. Right. If you go, yeah, right. Okay. So if you do that and you bet they're under projected yard totals, Bri, what was like by week 13, you had about 20 unders hit already, right? Without even seeing the last quarter of the season. So it's not fun to root for, but it's not fun to root for. It's probably not, but they don't factor injuries into these over-unders, Jen.
Right. And that's something you can't predict. And then you go and add an extra game to the season. So an extra game of wear and tear. And then you go and add the Omicron virus and you might not even have a sniffle and you can't play. I mean, it's just a really frustrating situation to try to project running backs. I want to say, remember, we were talking about Kareem Hunt. At the beginning of the season, you guys asked me who I thought was a bust candidate. And I actually said Antonio Gibson, not because I think he's a bust, because I was a bust for where he was drafted.
You knew he would get COVID in week 17. You figured it out.
I knew it. Absolutely. But on a per game basis, actually, if you break it down, same amount of fantasy points as Kareem Hunt. And Kareem Hunt was someone that you picked up in round 5 or 6. So again, just talking about like the variance in the running backs, you got the starting guy for Washington doing the same as kind of the backup guy on a per game basis for Cleveland.
Yeah. The actual variance is what you have to consider too. I mean, you probably put in an extra, I know you devote your life to this, but probably spent another 8 to 10 hours each week just because of the COVID stuff, right?
Absolutely. It was 100% because things would come out at the last minute. Then you have to go back and say, you try to catch all those people you recommended. I actually try to go back and say, wait, I said this, but don't do that anymore. I try to find all of those. And then you get up very early on Sunday morning because that's when everything comes in and everything's changing. And sometimes you even get last minute news the same morning. which is not good.
Who's a bust for you next year? There's too easy to predict, too early to predict, but who would be a bust for you? Maybe at the running back or wide receiver. Antonio Brown, you think he still's got it left? I don't know. I saw some things Sunday I didn't like.
Antonio Brown, I feel like, there's probably someone that's going to take a chance on him. So
I do too.
No, he won't bust because you'll get him so late and then he'll come in and do something fantastic.
Right.
Who's going to bust? That's a good question. I haven't thought about busts yet.
Kamara doesn't jump out of the first round yet, right? I'm trying to think of these running backs. He's still in there.
He actually, again, if you go down to a per game basis, he's top 5.
But, really? So you go him ahead of like Mixon at this point?
I think Mixon, no, I would go Mixon first, but I do think Mixon's going to fall to the end of the first round because people just, for whatever reason, they don't buy into it. And it doesn't make any sense because the numbers are there. And, of course, there's, recency bias. So Alvin Kamara might fall because he hasn't done anything for anybody lately, as opposed to last year where he had that 5 touchdown game. That's what people remember. They remember the last thing they saw. They're not going to be as hot on Nick Chubb, maybe, or even Dalvin Cook. Where was Dalvin Cook?
Yeah.
This week.
Yeah, it's true. He had some, with the injuries and everything else, his season flattened out. Yeah. And also with Kamara, you don't, I think Michael Thomas is expected to come back in like 6 or 7 years. So you really, you never know with that. Well, Jen, this has been terrific. It's not over yet. You and Eddie Spaghetti, you do the Waiver Wired podcast, right? There's a lot of DFS in the air, right? There's going to be, do our first touchdown pool, everything.
Yeah, we're going to talk about, I haven't even told Eddie this yet, but he doesn't know it, but he and I are going to draft a playoff team together and we're going to play a playoff fantasy league. I've yet to tell him.
Really?
It's going to be fun.
That's fun.
Yeah, we can all do it. I mean,
I
think everybody should
do it. Definitely.
All right. Harry has jinxed, you've seen the Golden Girls shirt. He jinxed Betty White. He wore that just hours before her demise. So,
oh, wow. Harry.
I don't know if he should be picking any teams.
Jen, by the way, I think you did tell us before the season that you were in 15 leagues, right? 15 leagues?
No, I think it was 11.
How did you wind up with championships? How many?
3. And I think like 3 third place. And then like 2 of them, there was no way I could come back. And the rest of them, I made it to semis in 8 of them.
Wow. That's pretty good. That's all right. Parlay Kid, you just want to place in the county, right? That's
like it's cheating. I read the waiver wire article.
That's right.
What do you mean? Why? How is that cheating? What do you mean?
Well, I read the waiver wire article for Sports Illustrated. So do you know how much time I have to spend looking?
I know, but it's still a lot of bad breaks this year. I think
true.
More than ever. But no,
I did a really good job in my high stakes league, which I finished second in. Unfortunately, I lost Derrick Henry, I lost Robert Woods, I lost TJ Hawkinson. We couldn't make any moves, but I did at the end. I remembered from last year, I couldn't make any moves, and I picked up Ronald Jones. I picked up Sony Michel. I picked up like everybody. Of course, Ronald Jones screwed me. But
he screwed Harry too. He had the over in the yards, right? Was that 2 weeks ago, Harry? Ronald Jones?
Oh, that was awful. Yeah, 2 weeks ago. When he had a 66, Jen. Got taken out with 9 minutes to go. His over under was 70.
Unbelievable. You guys, by the way, if anybody's playing a week 18 that's listening to this, you should probably go get Keyshawn Vaughn, maybe even Le'Veon Bell and Derek Gore, because I don't think there's any reason for them to rush Clyde Edwards-Helaire back in the situation they're in.
Okay, that's a nice Saturday
and Cam
play.
Akers might play this weekend too.
There you go. She's the best. Jen, Sports Illustrated, Extra Points Network. You see her on Waiver Wired podcast with Eddie Spaghetti tomorrow.
Who's this puppy?
Oh, mine? I don't know. He's is he still there? Yeah.
I just saw him.
That's Super
buddy.
Dave. That's Super Dave the dog. Yeah, no, he's not alive. He's we just
Super
kind of yeah. He'll be there for the next 14 hours if you want to check in on him. But there you go. Jen, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. And
my
we look
pleasure.
Look, Super Dave, there he's up. He's just saying goodbye.
We'll see you guys on Wednesday for Waiver Wired.
Yes. See you,
Thanks,
Jen.
Thanks.
Excellent, Jen. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.